Safety Agency. How are you? Yuletide is upon us and would always say, please take it easy. So we'll enjoy it together. On the program today, we'll be sharing with you details of the commendation letter from the IMO, that is the International Maritime Organization, to NIMASA. CIOTA had its second annual summit recently. CIOTA is a Chartered Institute of Transport Administration in Nigeria. You get to understand what intermodalism is doing in the transport sector and how well it is taking roots. All on today's edition of the program, NIMASA This Week. My name is Cordelia Obey. Do stay with us.
Introducing the new face of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA. We are charting the direction for a maritime and regulating the industry for a better, bigger, and more economically stable Nigeria. Evolved to serve you better. We are NIMASA. New face, rejuvenated service. NIMASA, changing the tides in your favor.
For the second time in about 6 months, NIMASA has received commendation from the agency in charge of regulating shipping in the UN. I'm talking about the International Maritime Organization, the IMO. Now, the letter to NIMASA is commending NIMASA for what Nigeria is doing, taking a leadership role in ensuring security in the Gulf of Guinea. The letter addressed to the Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Dr. Bashir Jamo. IMO specifically highlighted NIMASA's contribution to the war against piracy and maritime crimes in the region, including facilitation of the suppression of piracy and other maritime offenses, SPOMO Act 2019, and initiation of the Deep Blue Project.
In the letter signed on behalf of the IMO Secretary General, Kitak Lim, by the Director of Maritime Safety Division, Heike Degim, the United Nations Maritime Organ praised the efforts of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, for its contribution to the fight against piracy and armed robbery in the Gulf of Guinea. IMO said, from the successful enactment of the new legislation in the form of the Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Offences Act of 2019, complete with the forthcoming guidelines to the initiation and implementation of the C4I Deep Blue Project, Nigeria continues to demonstrate its leadership in the region with regard to maritime domain awareness and the enhancement of maritime security amongst littoral states. IMO remains committed to supporting the good work being done by the Gulf of Guinea states such as Nigeria to improve maritime governance and to enhance maritime security in terms of both current and emerging threats and challenges. It is therefore imperative that states adopt a strategic approach in order to ensure effective implementation and compliance. Lim had in June similarly written to Jamo following the arrest and prosecution of some suspected pirates by Nigeria. The Secretary General said the moves sent a strong and valuable message to the international community about Nigeria's commitment to safety and security in its waters and the Gulf of Guinea. Dr. Jamo had earlier, in a virtual address to a meeting of the G7 group of friends of the Gulf of Guinea, expressed Nigeria's resolve to lead efforts to achieve security in the region. He said Nigeria's strategy against insecurity in the region would be based on homegrown solutions, but the NIMASA Director General also sought international cooperation and technical assistance, particularly as regards maritime security, strategy and policy development in line with IMO instruments. In the glowing appraisal, Lim said of Jamo, I commend your leadership and proactive response. I would also like to reiterate my congratulations to the Nigerian Navy on the successful capture and arrest of pirates from the fishing trawler Heilufeng II, and more recently on the rescue of crew members of the container ship Tommy Richer. Those actions, together with all other initiatives you highlighted in our meeting, including progress with the Deep Blue Project, send a strong and valuable message to the international community with respect to the considerable efforts your government is making to curb piracy and armed robbery against ships in the Gulf of Guinea. While addressing the G7 meeting, Jamo stressed Nigeria's efforts to rid the Gulf of Guinea of maritime crime using local initiatives anchored on the Integrated National Security and Waterways Protection Infrastructure, also called the Deep Blue Project, with the Command, Control, Communication, Computers, and Intelligence Center, C4I Center, SPOMO Act, and intensified regional cooperation. The Director General underlined the country's determination to direct the war on maritime crimes in the region, stating, "I have often maintained that Nigeria is the Gulf of Guinea and the Gulf of Guinea is Nigeria. We recognize our strategic leadership position and role in the Gulf of Guinea, which has informed the extent of an integrated system of investment to curb criminality in our waters, ranging from enactment of designated legislation to development of human capacity and acquisition of critical hardware and platforms." Jamo hailed the call by international stakeholders for multi-stakeholder cooperation to contain piracy, kidnapping, and other criminal activities in the Gulf of Guinea. According to him, Nigeria is working with the IMO to develop a national maritime security strategy, and in support of this, has started work to form a National Maritime Security Committee consisting of the National Security Advisor, Nigerian Navy, Nigerian Air Force, Interpol, Marine Police, and other relevant security agencies. This committee will give focus and strategic direction to our maritime security efforts. G7 comprises the G7 countries: Canada, Germany, Italy, Japan, France, United Kingdom, and the United States of America, and Belgium, Brazil, Observer, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, Spain, Switzerland, the European Union, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, and Interpol.
Various holistic approaches to solving the challenges we are facing in our transport sector were proffered at the recently held Second National Transport Summit as organized by CIOTA, CIOTA being the Chartered Institute of Transport Administration of Nigeria. Speaking at the occasion, former Head of State General Yakubu Gowon called for a holistic reform of the Nigerian transport sector, while President CIOTA, Dr. Bashir Jamo, reiterated that the institute will operate on a tripod of training, advocacy, and professionalism.
The Chartered Institute of Transport Administration of Nigeria, CIOTA, is charged with the responsibility of advancing the study, training, and practice of transport management and administration in Nigeria. The Second National Summit, organized by the Institute, saw the gathering of professionals from the rail, road, air, water, and pipeline transport sectors coming together to deliberate on how best to improve Nigerian transport industry. The summit had the theme, Building Sustainable Transport Infrastructure in Nigeria, Opportunities, Innovations, and Technologies. In his welcome address, President CIOTA, Dr. Bashir Jamo, noted that the Institute will operate on a tripod of training, advocacy, and professionalism. The CIOTA president, who is also Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, said there was need to ensure that the transport infrastructure was manned by professionals in the field.
Under the professionalism, the Institute will work with the government to ensure that we develop curriculum where individual members of this institute are the only one recognized to occupy position of transportation, be it air, that is aviation, road, rail, sea, even pipeline transportation. Professionalism in terms of transportation should become paramount. The challenges and problems we are experiencing in this country in terms of infrastructural development, maintenance and sustainability of those infrastructure is being the bone of non-professionalism within the workforce. It is the duty of the Institute from today to work hard along with the head of service to ensure only those who are professional with prerequisite expertise and skill command the position of transportation.
Former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, retired, who was chairman of the conference, called for partnership between the public and private sectors in order to come up with innovative ways of resolving the transportation challenge in the country. The former head of state, who chaired the occasion and addressed the summit virtually, condemned the destruction of public assets in the country during the recent nationwide protests.
May I therefore, at this juncture, implore all the critical stakeholders in the transport sector, policymakers and technical experts at this summit to think deeply on how we can evolve and create new innovative strategies to advance the transport system in the country. I leave this to the transport experts present at this summit, who will help us to unveil these strategies at this summit for implementation of our transport system. We must embark upon an intensive campaign to make the whole public and private sector accountable and performance-oriented, with a view to provide the citizenry with proficient transport systems. We must inculcate codes of ethical conduct, transparency, and accountability into the whole of the transport system for national development.
The keynote presentation at the summit, titled Building Sustainable Transport Infrastructure in Nigeria, Opportunities, Innovations and Technologies, was delivered by Professor Innocent Ogude.
When we say sustainable transport, that it is not just a buzzword, but it is something that challenges us to be wise in how we arrange transportation. It challenges us to think of what will happen to the generation after us as we are arranging transportation. I'm going to concentrate on the aspiration of the country. One abiding aspiration of Nigeria is to become the leader of Africa, to become especially the leader in West and Central Africa. This desire to be the leader in West and Central Africa has also meant that Nigeria therefore desires very strongly to be a transport hub in West and Central Africa. The implementation of this desire has led Nigeria, within Nigeria, to behave in a particular way.
You're still watching NIMASA This Week, and we're still talking about Ceuta. During that summit, the rail sector took the pride of place because a lot of people are looking forward to having our rail services come alive as alive can be. During that session, the Honorable Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, announced the takeoff date of the Lagos-Ibadan rail service. He also announced to everybody present that the President of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, will be commissioning that project next month. When I'm saying next month, I'm talking January 2021.
The Honorable Minister of Transportation, Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi, took time off his busy schedule to join members of Ceuta during the inauguration of the newly elected governing board members of the institute. During his speech, the Honorable Minister announced that President Muhammadu Buhari is set to commission the newly constructed Lagos-Ibadan rail line by January 2021. He maintained that President Buhari was a committed reformer determined to change the face of transportation in the country. While commending the activities of Ceuta under the leadership of Dr. Bashir Jamo, Amechi stated that the Federal Ministry of Transportation would partner with the Institute to encourage professionalism in the transport sector, as well as ensure seamless and effective transportation across all modes.
Transportation is much more than just administration, but without administration, there will be no transportation. So it is key that you understand that your role is critical and important to the growth of transportation in Nigeria. It's also important to tell you that under the President Buhari's administration, we've advanced a lot in the area of transportation. We have the completion of most of the terminals under aviation. I'm sure you will see there are changes in some of the terminals. For us in Ministry of Transport, I've just gotten the mandate of the President to say that the President will commission the Lagos-Ibadan Railway by January.
CIOTA President Dr. Bashir Jamo, while welcoming the minister, disclosed that the transport sector was moving into a new era of professionalism that was set to usher in excellence across the various modes. Dr. Jamo, who is also Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, lauded the efforts of the federal government to upgrade the transport infrastructure. He said CIOTA was promoting professionalism and training to aid the government with the right manpower to man the transport infrastructure.
The issue of training and education, we are reaching out to universities and tertiary institutions that have anything to do with transportation to ensure that we build professionalism in transport sector at the level of undergraduate. That is why we have 4 categories of membership: student membership, associate membership, full membership, and fellowship.
Now, still at the CIOTA Summit, but this time let's do some things in the sideline. You'll be hearing 2 executives who will be talking about the transportation sector and how far it has gone and things to be done. We'll start off with the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Shippers Council, Barrister Hassan Bello. He's talking intermodalism, the fact that intermodalism is key.
It's not the multimodalism that is our problem. It's the intermodalism that is the problem. They have to come together. What happened at the seaport must have relevance in what's happening at the hinterland. Most of our ports, what we lack is interconnectivity, hinterland connectivity. Of course, we have ports in Calabar, but once your goods are at the seaport in Calabar, how do you now get the goods to go to Maiduguri and other places? You need a high sense of interconnectivity. You need modern infrastructure to do that. So what we are saying is professionals, they already know. They have plans, maybe 20-year plan of what the infrastructure or what the transport framework will be. We need transport, we need intermodalism, we need different modes of transportation which must be integrated. So we are talking about seamless transport system. There is carriage of goods wholly or partly by sea, United Nations Convention, which is the Rotterdam Rules. Most conventions stop at the seaport, but this modern convention, because of commerce, modern commerce dictate what infrastructure you are going to get. It's door-to-door delivery of cargo. That is what commerce has foisted on us. We are talking about electronic commerce. We are talking about electronic paperwork. For example, bill of lading. Do you go now to collect it physically and say you are going to the seaport and said you are looking for bill of lading? Bill of lading can be transmitted electronically. So it's the technology. Transport must be infused with technology, and technology that will drive that. And who will do that? For you to be at the helm of affairs is the transport person. If we have lawyers, manning some legal institutions, doctors will be there. So that's what we want transportation to be. Example, NIMASA, he's a transporter. He has been in that life for long. Professional, acquiring knowledge and so on. So you see the shift in NIMASA will never be the same again. That's what we are saying. We need professionalism to coordinate, if you like.
We continue with the media interactions. This time, we're meeting the Director General, the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology, Zaria, Dr. Bayero Salih Farah. He says NITT Zaria is encouraging research to develop the sector.
When NITT came aboard, the number of professionals in the industry were very, very minimal. But today, if you go to most of the transport companies and parastatals, you'll find trained professionals. And many of them have passed through NITT programs, either the long-term or the short-term programs. So the impact in the industry is much, but we still have so much to do because the economy is growing and the population is also growing. So we need to do a lot more to train more people. Our training programs are world-class. We train according to best practice. So anybody that passed through our training programs must have attained best training standards. So we are working at the world standard level, and I'm sure the impact is there in the industry.
And once again, CIOTA President Dr. Bashir Jamo spoke about the role of research, the attention it needs in developing the transport sector.
Despite the fact that you have gone through the NITT area, you are required to register as a member of the Chartered Institute of Transport Administration of Nigeria to be a professional member. So in so doing, there's going to be a continuous development education as a professional so that you can be in line with global best practices in the transportation sector. So this is where the agency, the Institute of Transport Administration of Nigeria and the Chartered Institute of Transport Administration of Nigeria meets and interface.
The IMO Legal Committee held its 107th session, meeting virtually, where matters relating to the work of the Legal Committee and the COVID-19 pandemic concerning fair treatment of seafarers and the abandonment of seafarers was deliberated. Upon opening the session, IMO Secretary General Kitak Lim stressed the need to prioritize the well-being of more than 1.6 million seafarers working on board seagoing ships every day to deliver goods around the world. As I have repeatedly emphasized, seafarers are the silent heroes and collateral victims of the COVID-19 pandemic, as travel restrictions have left hundreds of thousands of them stranded on ships or unable to join ships. IMO, together with other United Nations system organizations, has taken countless actions to address the serious issues that have arisen during this crew change crisis, and we will continue to seek solutions to put an end to the crisis, Mr. Lim said. The committee considered a proposal for the new output to address the fair treatment of seafarers detained on suspicion of committing maritime crimes, recognizing the global nature of shipping, crossing many jurisdictions, and seafarers' rights to a fair trial. A second proposal for new work raises the need to develop a set of guidelines for the port state authorities on how to deal with seafarer abandonment cases. Such guidelines could provide a solid basis for the introduction of a unified procedure to follow in order to speed up the process of repatriation of seafarers and to improve port operations. Another important topic for the committee concerns unlawful practices associated with the fraudulent registration and fraudulent registries of ships, following agreement at the last session of a series of measures to prevent those unlawful practices. The committee also considered action being taken to facilitate the entry into force and harmonize interpretation of the 2010 HNS Convention, a key treaty which, when in force, will address the liability and compensation for accidents involving hazardous and noxious substances. The legal committee was opened by IMO Secretary General Kitak Lim and is being chaired by Mr. Volker Šofić.
Okay, time for us now to take the tweet for the week from the DG's Twitter handle @JamoBashir. Have you followed him? If you've not, please follow so you get authentic information directly from the DG NIMASA. And for this week, the tweet simply reads, #Maritime Security. Despite the challenges, let me assure Nigerians that we're not relenting in our efforts to ensure we secure our waters through the Deep Blue project. Other nations are taking notice. When Lieutenant Colonel Uchuimi Kazuaki, Defense Attaché to Embassy of Japan, came calling. So this is a point where I say thank you very much for being a part of the program NIMASA this week. I encourage you to follow NIMASA on all her social media platform handles. They are all at NIMASA Official. For talking YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, they are all at NIMASA Official. We'll see you again next week. Till then, take care of yourselves, my friend. My name is Cordelia Obey. Bye-bye.
Do you know that 35% of every girl child and women are raped on a daily basis? Some are killed in the process, some take their lives in shame, others remain emotionally dead for life. It is sad. This culture is not ours, definitely not African. How did we allow bad culture to infiltrate and take over? Even if you lack fear for the law, what of fear of God? And you, why do you cover up rape acts when it happens? Remember, a problem shared is a problem half solved. Never cover any rape act because a rapist is a murderer. It could be you or your loved ones next. Women must be treated like the prize gem they are. Say no to rape.
Obey the health authorities, stay at home, practice social distancing and proper hygiene. When this is over, and very soon it will be, we shall dance again at the Calabar Carnival, the Eyo Festival, Celebration, Ojudeoba Festival, and Aragongo Festival. When this is over, and very soon it will, we shall flock the beaches again. We shall attend our music concerts again. We shall invite the world once again at the Lagos City Marathon. When this is over, and very soon it will be, we can return to our hustle and bustle. We will gather at our churches and mosques. We shall return to our schools and institutions. Our hope is alive. We are Nigeria. And together, we shall rise again. Nigeria Film Corporation, powering possibilities.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Although social media as a channel of communication is inherently harmless, it becomes harmful and damaging when used without discretion and thoughtfulness. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, reflect, and verify information before sharing it. Be a good social media user. Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source and use social media responsibly